Hey Shakers, we're here today with Abby Sparks, founder and creative director of Abby Sparks Designs. So could you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I started my career in consulting, decided that wasn't for me, traveled the world, which was great, but you kind of have no life. And then went back to school, and I'd always been making jewelry as a hobby, and I finally figured out how to monetize it and do it for a living. So took a chance, started a company, and here I am.
That's awesome. So what year did you start?
I started the business in 2012, but it was more of kind of a way for me to test out certain things you learn doing your MBA that are more theoretical. I was not really a theory person. I'd rather just do them, test them out, and see if they work on your own business. So I started it more for that, and the demand kept increasing to a degree that I was like, I actually have a real business.
So right away when you registered it, you were getting your MBA at DU, right, where we met, and you had your first sale pretty soon after that, it sounds like.
Yeah, within probably a month.
Wow.
I kind of just talked to my business MBA friends about it, and they were like, well, can you make me a ring? One girl, she actually had 3 rings commissioned within a month of me just having an idea, and I said, yeah, but I need to get like the LLC and certain business like formalities I wanted to get out of the way first. So yeah, within a month I had $2,000 in revenues, and for me it was like, wow, okay.
What is Abby Sparks Designs?
So Abby Sparks Designs, we are a high-end, essentially boutique concierge jewelry provider. We focus on custom jewelry, and really our main focus is our concierge services. Nobody wants to go in to a jewelry store. Nobody likes it. The lights, the security, the sales, people are really pushy, and also the product is mostly manufactured and nothing's really original. So we like to create a piece for that particular person around their story.
And what type of clients do you have?
All types. Yeah, we call them clients. All types. We've got your 28-year-old that, is just out of school. They've got their first really great job. They've been working for a few years and they're ready to get married. First marriage. We've got, people that are on their 3rd marriage and that are in their 50s and 60s. We're pretty equal opportunity. We're happy that people are engaged and receptive to what we're doing.
And how do you find your clients?
Well, that's been trickier. Marketing, just paying for marketing is pretty expensive. So we've been mainly referral based, and then online based, which is kind of a different model for the jewelry industry. Mainly that's a bricks and mortar, more traditional industry. We kind of like to, break the mold on that, and we just have a design studio. So people find us online through Google, a lot of Yelp referrals, and then word of mouth through our clients that have talked to their friends and said, hey, I got this, you need one too.
Nice.
So yeah, it's been slower organic growth, but actually we're segmenting into, hopefully in the next few months, more sustained growth, and that we are paying like a marketing firm for.
One last question before we dive into the topic of community.
Yeah.
What do you think are the top 3 values you provide your clients? Obviously the big one's the deliverable, the custom piece. But what else do you think that they really find valuable?
Yeah. Yeah, number one is it is, like I said, the true custom, not just customized. Most jewelry stores you go into, they're like, yeah, we do custom. They'll put, they basically say, pick a stone and we'll put it in any setting. So it's not really, we do true custom, from scratch, it's all made here in Denver. So most clients love that, just the originality. What we're also really good at is our concierge services. We come pick up jewelry. We come to you, meet you at coffee shops, at the local pub, meet you in your own, office. So we cater really highly. Like our meetings are, we look at stones together, or we look at metals. Like whatever the client needs, we walk them through in a really high touch way, almost like the concierge at a hotel. You don't know these things. Most of us don't know. About jewelry, and it's, when you're buying a wedding ring or a engagement ring, you don't want to mess up.
You said in 2012 you had been asking some of your business friends, so I guess that you had at least somewhat of a community with MBA program at DU. But could you speak a little bit to any other communities that you are a part of, and then also how you use the DU community to help you?
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, the DU community was really strong for me. That was like probably my, 90% of the community efforts that I would kind of absorb would be within the DU community. Other than that, I had some friends, we all have friends. I had friends and family, really. Like every good startup, you've got that friends and family piece, and you really have to leverage them. So in terms of, friends and family piece, I'd also have, some business advisors, some people in my life that were really savvy business people that I looked to that I just was like, hey, what do you think about this? And yeah, I had a pretty strong community. One of my mentors, he actually lives here in town. He told me one thing as he was buying some jewelry, get a couple of pieces made. He said, what his father told me is that there's three things you need to have a great career or a great company, essentially, if you're a founder of a company. He said that you need to be really good at it, because if you're not really good at it, somebody else will be better and it's not going to work. You need to make money. You have to pay your bills. Nobody that has no money to live is happy, essentially. And you gotta love it, because if you don't love it, it's gonna get old, you're gonna want to change, you're gonna want to just do something else. So, and you can't have just two. You can love something and be really good at it, but if you make no money, it's a hobby.
Yeah.
Or you can be really good at it and make a ton of money at it, but if you hate it, it's not sustainable. You can't do it your whole life. So that always sticks with me, where I'm like, if I can get those three things in one career, and I have that now, then I have a fighting chance at building something sustainable. I actually have a ton of people in my family that have owned businesses, so I almost want to say I'm born into kind of that entrepreneurial mindset. You don't realize that when you're young, but when you get older, you're like, I don't want to do it like that. I want to do it like my grandpa did, or like my dad did, or like my uncle does. So I kind of realized that just in the last probably 5 years that I'm probably not meant for this very more traditional path, and I started on that path. I wanted to kind of leverage these business advisors and whatnot, the people that had in my life that actually had businesses, and ask them how they did things. And nobody does it the same. So you kind of start realizing that there is no right way.
Yeah.
You just have to figure out your way.
That's right.
That's for making things happen.
Shakers, I gotta pause here. That's awesome advice, Abby. For our Shakers, you just have to find out your own way to do it, right? And there is no right, or maybe there's some wrong ways to do it, Shakers, but there's definitely not one right way. And so many of our past guests, Abby, have said, you'll hear from mentors, several different things. And at the end of the day, it's your decision as the entrepreneur to decide how to proceed and to proceed. Yeah. Equally as important. All right, so I love hearing about when people quit their job. You got to take us back to 2013. So 2012, you were getting an MBA. Mm-hmm. Walk us through how that, when you graduated the job, and can you walk us through that?
Yeah. So when I was getting my MBA, I was still working for a consulting firm out in DC, and I had started this company more of a project at that place, at that level. And then I was in school full time too, so it was a really hectic time. As soon as I graduated, I had a few job offers. I was doing consulting, like I said, for a DC firm. I didn't want to travel anymore. I had no life, so I took a job with a consulting firm here in town that promised no travel and reasonable hours. Well, it ended up I was working all the time. I think in consulting, it's one of those industries where, though you might be promised 40 hours a week, nobody works 40 hours a week in consulting. So I was managing, 70 hours a week with work. And then also just kind of, sometimes I think life throws things at you intentionally. I was getting more and more business through the jewelry company. And I was working on, drawings and proposals at like 3 a.m. And then getting up at 6 a.m. to go work my other job, my consulting job. So things were total chaos. And things kind of came to a head when I had a substantial amount in revenues kind of on my books for my design company. And then I was heading this really big project at the consulting company, and I wasn't doing anything really well. I was also not sleeping. So I went to see my dad for a weekend, and he's like, "Kid, what are you doing? Like, you didn't go to school to just to just run around like, you know, you're doing consulting, you're doing your business, but you're not really doing, like, you don't have 2 feet in anything.
Yeah.
So you gotta pick. Like sometimes you gotta pick, and this might be a time to pick. So, but he's like, before I have to, you know, check you in somewhere from exhaustion, you know, alone. So I was like, okay. But that's a really hard choice because when you have a company, it's not really, it doesn't really have legs. You know, you're like, it can, but it maybe won't. So I had to kind of take that risk, and really what drove me is to, you know, to the ultimate decision of the jewelry company is I had to decide which thing I didn't want to give up. It's like, was I okay giving up consulting, or was I okay giving up jewelry? For me, the idea of giving up my jewelry dream, my business, just didn't feel right. So you had to, you know, knowing I had to choose, I'm like, all right, I'm going to choose the really risky, no security, the total unknown, the black abyss. And I was like, all right, let's do this. You know,
Wow.
you kind of have to, for me, I like to think of like worst case scenario. Like worst case scenario, you know, you have to sell assets, you gotta, you know, you try it for a couple years, doesn't work, you get another job.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I can do it that worst case scenario. I'm gonna give this up because I can have this at any time in my life. So I quit. I was on a 2-year contract at the consulting firm. They were not happy. So it just was a tricky situation to be in. But had I not been working my, you know, tail off, I probably would still be juggling things, which is also not the, you know, for me it wasn't the right thing to do ultimately for my business because I couldn't get it to where I needed to get it.
Yeah.
With juggling too much. So
Yeah.
sorry for the long-winded response, but
No, it's gold. It's so true, Shakers. You have to just jump in with both feet. And you have to ignore all the other noise. It's never going to be the right time. It's never going to be exactly how you want it to be. And
you're
now,
never going to have enough money.
Yeah.
You're never going to have enough security. You're always going to need more health insurance.
Yeah. So now, did you have a mortgage in your name when you quit your job? Wow, Shakers. Abby had a mortgage in her name and she quit her job. What did that feel like?
And I had student loans. I still do.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of them.
Yeah, me
Do
too.
you? Yeah. Yeah, so that's, I mean, it doesn't lend towards you making a risky decision. It makes you kind of hold on to that security that you have in a job. You know, my dad said it though. He was like, you don't have any security. You just think you do in that job. You know, he was like, you can get fired tomorrow and you could be in the same position that you are right now, like in terms of not knowing. So he's like, and if you continue this, you might get fired.
Yeah.
So, you know, so just it puts it in perspective when really, like, yes, we hold on to this security we have in certain jobs versus the total unknown of a startup, but you don't have as much security. You know, you don't have what you think you have. It's just kind of, it's an illusion in a way. You know?
I agree with that, and I want to add to that, Abby. You know, as a startup, you create your own value. You're in charge of it.
Right.
You're steering the ship.
Yep.
If that's the right term. But where in a job, you're not the decision maker, and you could lose your job tomorrow. And Shakers, if you haven't heard me say this before, you probably have, but I'm going to repeat it. Business Insider says that by 2020, 40% of the American workforce won't have traditional work. Wow. 2020, that's 5 years away from, that's less than 5 years away from when we're shooting this interview. So now's a great time to start to learn how to create your own value, freelance, contract, get the entrepreneurial spirit, and learn what it feels like. Do it. When you have questions to ask, in your shoes, it sounds like you had some awesome family members that could help. So getting in front of them perhaps wasn't a huge challenge. But perhaps you met some other people or heard some other names that, you know, role models that you read their blogs, people that you needed to get in front of to ask questions, or clients that you needed to get in front of because they were more of your target client. How do you get people's attention?
Well, I think really the best thing for me was telling my story. You know, everybody has a story, and I think I had to learn to leverage that a little bit more. In that, really, what makes people engage is the interpersonal, it's the relationships we have. That's where, you know, that's where people, you know, just the ask, like asking for support, asking for what you need, and you know, and sharing that story of like, this is what I'm doing, this is what's hard for me. Having that little bit of vulnerability too, that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
You know, especially as a startup when, you know, everybody knows you are vulnerable. You're like, no, I'm not. I got this.
Yeah.
You know? So opening up, sharing that little bit of like what you are struggling with or what you do need help with. You know, and also sharing your success stories too of like, okay, I had this great client today and it helped me get, you know, this, and this in alignment with my business. It made me think about this a little bit more, and they referred me, you know, a client. You know, it's really like opening up and telling people what you're doing, because if you don't ask and you don't tell people what you're doing, how are they supposed to support you? You know, if you're doing everything in your own shell, people can't support you, and nobody can build a business alone. You know, that's what that action item, I already know what I'm going to say. It's people, you know? Yeah, so really it's leveraging, you know, your community to try to get in front of the people you need to get in front of. Try to meet the mentors you need to meet, you know, or just try to get the advice that you need. I think that, you know, just a DU plug here, like, I'm confident that just in my phone, within 5 minutes, I can get the answer to most things I need. Whether it's calling somebody like you, like, hey Matt, do you have a bookkeeper? You know what I mean? Or do you have an investor you could just say, hey, like, you know, I think that that's the value of that community, is that you have these people that, like, people want to help people. They're trying to push you up a little bit in a way that they can. That's, you know, key too. How can they help? They can only help in a way that they want to and can or able to. You know, so, but leveraging that, telling your story, asking, getting in front of people, you know, and saying, I need a little bit of help here, you know, and like I said, that's really hard to do, but I think for me, it taught me, you know, like, how do I get in front of people? How do I grow my business? That has been really key.
Yeah, Shakers, I think Abby brings up many great points here. Being vulnerable, just being a person who you're trying to get in front of right away. Just throwing yourself out there. It gets people's attention. People appreciate someone who's genuine. And when you're vulnerable, when you're honest, and when you're talking to someone who can help you in a specific way that you need help, people want to be able to provide value. You know,
they want to see you succeed. You know, people that are taking risks. People like seeing people take risks. They don't like seeing people fail. Nobody wants to see their friend fail at something. So, you know.
But they sure do like hearing about the risks. And when things did go wrong, as long as there's success at the end of it. So Shakers, let's hear one thing that Abby says that you can do immediately after this video to help you in your entrepreneurial journey.
Pick people, like, reach out to people that are your direct supporters and ask for help. Tell them what you need, and you have to give them really something tangible. I need help with accounting. I'm not good at it, you know. But it's leveraging your existing community into success, essentially. Helping them, like, letting them help you on your way. Because as somebody who has their own company, you're doing everything on your own, and you don't really know how to do anything. So you need help. So really, I'd say the first thing is you need a support group. You need your own, like, set of cheerleaders, people that want you to succeed. But you got to tell them what you're doing and what you need. You know. Well, so reach out.
That's a good one, Shakers. Pick 1, pick 5 of your direct supporters and ask them something specific that you need. Listen, Abby, go out there and contact them today, right after this interview, immediately, now.
Go.
So, cool. Well, thanks so much for joining, Abby. If we want to find you online, where can we find you?
Just go to abbysparks.com and you get all the contact information, phone numbers, emails, all that.
Great. And are you on Twitter?
Yes, we are. We're not huge on Twitter. It's at the Abby Sparks on Twitter.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're on Facebook, Instagram. Instagram we have more of it. Yeah, since we're such a visual company. We, you know, we do that.
And what's your Instagram handle?
It's at the Abby Sparks as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Cool. Well, Abby, thanks so much for joining the Handshakin Video Series. Shakers, next time.